Hi guys, Mary Beth here. Um, I've been thinking about salvation and a lot of the things that the Lord has shown me and revealed to me through dreams and experiences that I've had. And I had a couple of dreams that I'd like to share with you. And they're kind of thought provoking. I'm not really completely sure of my audience regarding these dreams, but I know that the Lord will use this and He will send it out to wherever it needs to go, and He'll make sure that whoever needs to hear it hears it. So I want to just tell you about a few dreams that I've had regarding people that have died and that the Lord has allowed me to actually. I know, you know, I'm not going to get into the doctrinal part of it, but if the Lord sends them back to talk to you, it's not necromancy. I'm not calling up the dead. I'm not calling forth the dead. These people are coming to me in a dream with a message, and that is entirely something that God holds. He holds His right to do so. So several years ago, a childhood friend of mine, passed away at an early age, and this person died young, young comparatively to what we want to die at. She was a mature woman. She had been married. She had grown children. But in the dream, actually, I want to go back and tell you a couple things that happened before the dream that I want to share with you. In the natural, I had not actually been in connection or had any type of connection with her for years and years and years. She and I grew up in close proximity in the same hometown, and we knew a lot of the same people. But our lives took totally different directions, as most of our lives do when we leave high school and grade school and high school, and go to different directions and have different friends and different experiences in life. So this woman had actually taken a direction that was not necessarily what most would consider a godly path. She was a pleasant person. She was a beautiful lady, and she had, um, just gone a different direction. And my life took a different course. Um, I, ended up saying yes to the Lord on some interesting things that He asked me to do, and so while I was actually in Texas, she friend requested me. It had been years on end since I'd actually even had any contact with her at all. She friend requested me on Facebook, and a couple, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, after after she had friend requested me on Facebook, I had a dream, and in the dream, she came to me in my kitchen at my apartment there in Texas, and she was asking me lots of questions about the Lord. She was asking me questions about God, and I was in my kitchen and I was cooking and doing things, and I was answering her to the best that I knew how. And she just had a lot of questions regarding Jesus and just different things. And actually, I'd had to go back and look in my dream journal to tell you the exact details of the dream. But basically, that's the gist of it. She was curious. I felt like the Lord was drawing her. And so I just began to pray for her. After I woke up and realized the dream I'd had, I knew that that was a prompting of God to begin to pray for this lady. And so I did. Can't tell you, in detail what I prayed, but I just know that God had me praying for her, that she would come to know the Lord, that she would come to, that people would come across her path that knew Jesus and that could speak life into her spirit, and that He would just continue to draw her back to Him. Well, about 3 months after that, I get the news that she had actually passed away. And she passed away unexpectedly. And several weeks after her death, she came to me in a dream. And in the dream, she was weeping. And she wasn't like profusely, like, crying to that degree, but she was just, just very upset. She was saddened. She was weeping. And she told me in the dream that it was as if she had made it to heaven, but it wasn't exactly the area of heaven that she had found out, that once she got there, that it actually wasn't the area of heaven that was the closest, to the Lord. And I know I may draw some criticisms here, with their with my belief. I mean, I believe there's different levels in heaven. I mean, the Bible says there's rewards, and there's eternal rewards, and I just do believe that there's different areas, different places, and I'm going to share another dream with you too that uh, tends to point in that direction. So she came to me and told me that now let me just say, this person was not doing godly things on earth. Was she evil? No, I don't think she was evil. I believe personally in my heart that as a young child she was probably saved as a young girl, but grew away from the Lord and never actually followed God during her life. She didn't live her life for the Lord. That was obvious, with the type of lifestyle that she did live and had lived for many, many years. Um, but she was not an evil person. She was bubbly and um, had lots of friends. But in saying that, when she came to me in this dream, she told me that she wished that she had lived her life differently on earth. And she began to share with me how that she had regrets, that she didn't live her life for the Lord, that she didn't live a godly life on earth because she actually knew once she got to heaven what she had missed out on, and she knew that she had basically wasted most of her life on earthly pleasures and things that made no difference and had no uh, actual fruit, for the kingdom of God, and actually didn't bear any fruit for her eternity. And while I was, glad that the Lord allowed me to see that, it was sad to me to know that, she really didn't have uh, a basis for living her life here on earth for Jesus, for doing things for God. So it was just difficult. It was a difficult thing for me to watch and or to have that in the dream. But I was also glad that the Lord allowed me to see that, because it really helped me to know how to pray. What she came to me for is to ask me to pray for her family. And this person has a very large family. If I mention their name, you would know. A lot of you, maybe watching, would maybe know who she is. But she really has a large family, and that was her concern. She was concerned with her family. And at the time, I knew that one of her family members was getting ready to come home. There was several of them sitting at tables all around in the dream, and they were waiting for someone. And it's been kind of strange with me and that family, how the Lord has shown me oftentimes when one of them that's connected to the family is going to go home, and it just gives me a kind of a heads up on prayer and how to pray. And um, so it wasn't too long after that actually one of her cousins, her close cousins, actually passed away, and he wasn't very old either. Um, the other person that I want to tell you about was also a friend that died young. This was a man that died young. A lot of you may know him. And I'm going to tell you the experience I had after his death, because this is another one of those cases where, you know, and once again, this person, and actually, this actually happened before the lady that passed away. Um, Not too long after this man passed away, I had an experience and an encounter in a dream. And in the dream, a stairwell opened up. A stairway opened up like just, just opened up there. And I walked up the stairs. So I went up the stairs. And when I got up to the top of the stairs, I went into this room. And there's this huge, humongous library. I mean, way up and tall and higher than you can imagine. Just books, just galore, like one of those just immense libraries. And seated at this huge desk in this huge leather looking chair was my friend who had passed away at a very young age. I think he was either 42 or 45. He was not, he wasn't very old in terms of our thoughts of what old or what a full life should be. So I went up to him and I said, "Hey." And in the dream, he had on a set of those jeweler's glasses. And they were glasses that, how they get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. They're like these jeweler's glasses. Well, these glasses were like none I have ever seen here on earth. I've never seen anything like them. I've seen the jeweler's glasses where they have the bigger spectacles and then they have smaller and smaller where they're magnifying those tiny details. But these were like they just went on for like ever. And he was sitting there doing this intricate work at this desk. And he didn't even look up when I came up the stairs until I asked him a question. And in the dream, I said, "Hey, have you got to see Jesus yet?" And he stopped what he was doing and he sat back and he looked up. He turned around, in his chair. He turned around the chair to me. He didn't even look me in the eye. He closed his eyes. He looked up and he said, "I thank my God every day that I am here." And he put his head back down and he turned back around and continued with his work. And I went back down the stairs. Now, this man had also been saved at a younger age, but he had not been living his life for the Lord. He had not been doing things for God on the earth. He had fallen away from the Lord. He'd fallen away from God. He had, stopped going to church because of an offense. He had gotten offended, years prior to that. He'd gotten offended at people in the church, actually, and stopped going, became very angry. Um, the few years or couple of years before he passed away, he had gotten less and less angry, and you could tell that that he was starting to just mellow out a little bit, and he loved his family immensely. He had a lot of loss in his life, but I think his parents died young, and he just really um, you know had a lot of hurt, but he never came back fully to the Lord. And I had a few conversations with him, because I was going to church at the time and I had invited him to go and, ask him to come on several occasions. And he was dating a nice lady at the time, and I had invited both of them to come to church. And he was, like, "Yeah, I might sometime. I might. I'm just not ready yet. I'm just not ready yet. I'm just, I'm just not quite. I just, you know, can't do it right now." And then it was too late. And if you guys have watched my video on eternity and making sure your eternity is secure, at the time that this happened and at the time that I'd had these dreams, I had not had this experience that I reference in the dream or in the message, making your eternity secure. But in that experience that I tell about how the Lord actually allowed me to leave my body, and it was for an entirely different purpose, not to freak me out or show me, that I wasn't saved, but it was for something else. But as I came back into my body and realized that I was coming back into my body from having been on the other side and having had other experiences where I've seen people that have died and have been on the other side of the spirit realm, and that they're not able to come back, and that the seriousness of that, once you leave this body, that if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, you are at the mercy of Satan. I mean, mercy. He has no mercy. You're at the, you're actually, that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to be ending up with eternal separation from God. And, you know, that experience I had was coming back into my body and just realizing, once I come back into my body, I had this holy fear come over me. I wasn't like afraid, of God, and like he was going to kill me or beat me over my head, or it wasn't that. It was just a reverence of the power, of the finality of his power, and how when it's your time, it's your time. When God, I've given God permission to take my spirit and go. If he needs me to go do a task, kind of like Philip did in the Bible, if he needs me to go someplace and in the spirit, and he needs to take my spirit someplace and do a task or do a job or whatever he's asked me to do, I've given him permission to do that. And he's taken me up on it a few times, and it's this last time was kind of interesting, because I believe he was allowing me to feel that, to know, because it makes you really aware of how short time is here on earth, and that when you're done, here, you're done. You are done. And this body is a shell. It's an earth suit. It's this mud suit that you're going to use while you're here on earth to do the work that God sent you down here to do. And, with whatever talents he's given you, whether it's 10, 5, or 1. And, I got to thinking, this isn't where I was going to go with this video, but I got to thinking about how, that unprofitable servant that buried the 1 talent in the ground, he didn't do anything with his talent, and he gave that piece of money back to the master in the Bible, and he said, you should have at least put it on interest. You should have at least done something with it so that I would have at least had interest when I came back. And he didn't do anything with it. He just buried it in the ground. And I think about how that's kind of symbolic of what people do when they actually don't. The thing is, he was a servant. In other words, they were all 3 servants. They were all 3. You could look at it like this: they were all 3 saved, but were they doing anything for the Lord? Were they, the unprofitable servant was not doing anything for God, and that's kind of what happened to these 2 friends that I'm referencing, and I'm not doing this video to bash them. I am thankful that they made it to heaven, and that they're going to be on, I'm going to see them again on that side. But I want to encourage you that if you if you're just hanging on till Jesus comes and you're not doing anything, you're not praying, you're not seeking, to know the will of God for your life, then, you may, I don't know about that outer darkness thing. The Bible doesn't say that outer darkness is hell. I think they're 2 different things. And in outer darkness, it says that there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I'm just throwing this out there, but what if outer darkness is just the outer edges of heaven? I don't know. But I encourage you today, to not end up like my 2 friends. Don't end up, just getting saved as a child and then living your life like hell on earth, and, doing whatever you want to do on this earth, and ending up with nothing to give, no crowns to lay at his feet, because how sad is that going to be, to not have any crowns to lay at the feet of the Lord? Okay, well, once again, it's a 20-minute video, but I just wanted to put that out there for whatever it's worth. I hope that helps someone and prompts you to take a closer look at what you're doing for God. All right. Talk to you later.